Okay, sorry about that, Senator McPhedran. We'll go to Senator McPhedran next, and then we'll start our second round with Senator Francis. Senator McPhedran, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair Manning. I want to ask this question of all witnesses. Last week at our committee meeting, all three of our experts, Professors Palmerton, McIntosh, and O'Byrne, all spoke to the systemic racism within the RCMP and the DFO. And I know we've had some reference to it, but I'd really like to dig a little more deeply on this systemic racism angle of our understanding and our analysis. I want to pick up on Ms. Maloney's earlier point that you can have good, well-intentioned people operating within systemic racism. And so my question to our witnesses picks up on many of the points that we've made already today, but I would really like to try to get a little more detail. And so I'm asking you to help us understand, what would it look like? What would we be seeing in the actual behavior, the actions taken by staff at DFO and RCMP, basically enforcement officials, if I can put that in a more general way? How would the behavior be different? What would you actually be experiencing that would be different, that would be an indicator that systemic racism was actually being reduced?
Ms. Maloney, would you like to start?
Sure, I always step back to see if the Sagamas want to answer first. So if they want to add to, I think with respect to systemic racism, and I do agree with the constitutional experts that you have had, that you were listening to last week, it is, again, the way I explained it was the system is broken. It is all through the act itself, the mandate, and the tools that are given to the individuals. So Chief Poultice and Sagama Poultice and Sagama Marshall both talked about training and the like, and that's all very good and dandy. So when it comes to on the water itself, we're hearing that, even from some of the enforcement people, the thought right away goes to, well, do they have authority to fish? They're fishing their food, social, and ceremonial tags. The thought going forward is a negative thought with respect to the Indigenous fishers that are out there. So the behavioral change, number one, and I'm always going to contend that it is the system that's broken. It's the system that the systemic discrimination that goes through, and the people are a result of. And so once you change the system, I'm sure behaviors will change, but you will always have individuals that will harass and bother our communities, all 13 of them. None of them signed agreements. We do have with Chief Wilbert, Sagama Wilbert's community, Budladek, we have an arrangement for their community fishers to go out there. Even though there's an arrangement for them to go out there, they are still harassed. They're still overchecked. Traps are being pulled, and are they marked? So there's increased scrutiny on what are we doing wrong. There's increased scrutiny on the whole process itself, even through the management plans that are developed by and for the communities, right? So I think that is a big part when we look at the behavioral change. If you come to the table with the notion and the approach of they have a right, they know what they're doing, and most of all, respect. I think respect is absolutely key when dealing with. If you come up to someone in a very aggravated, assertive way, you're going to get, everybody's going to puff right out like blowfishes, and then off you go. But if you come to the table, if you come upon boats, if you sit at the table with someone, if you come with the table of, okay, we're going to work together, that's when we see that there has been changes. There is the start of changes, but I'm always going to go back to the system has to be adjusted. And
Thank
hope
you.
so.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I was going to thank you for the question.
Okay. Chief Posey.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator, for the question. And thank you for taking it a step further to speak on systemic racism. As we know, this word has certainly been floating around for quite some time now. And we as government and us chiefs and SOGMs that, sit in our respective positions, we have that opportunity. And that's what we're doing today. We are exchanging information because technically I'm on the front line. You folks are around a Senate table, you look deeper into scenarios and situations that govern Canadians, including the Indigenous people of this great land that we call home. So thank you for wanting to take this a step further. As an Indigenous leader, as a Wolastoqey chief Sagum, we are on the front lines in our own respective communities, and we see it every day. There's multiple levels of government that we interact with. The municipality, the provincial, the federal, and of course our own Indigenous governments. So, there's many challenges and lead my community to help make change and, to help change the path forward for our young people, for our children. Uh, it's important that we leave a legacy of understanding and respect in a nation to nation relationship and to understand and hear the voices of our people. Our ancestors left us many responsibilities, and I'm honored to sit in front of the Senate today to share the voices of our people, and the voices of our children, for that matter, because we have the ability to make the change. The children's voices. I represent them because they're not at this table. We've got to build a good path moving forward 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, time of immemorial, we've been here and, it needs to be respected. And how do we move forward? It's DFO prevents our folks from moving any step forward ahead. DFO should be protecting our fisheries, not of course arresting them, because that's the first mechanism they go to. It's pure harassment. I had the opportunity last fall to join the national chief Roseanne Archibald in Nova Scotia, and we were there to support the livelihood fishermen. And there was many of us chiefs, and of course the national chief that climbed aboard one of the fishery boats to show us, give us to show us what they do. There was lots of media around this visit, and I was on the boat myself, so I witnessed it myself. And in the distance was a fleet of DFO ships or boats watching as we were taken out. When the boat returned, of course, media was there trying to get their story, and we were sharing our stories. And of course, the event ended. We all departed, and the national chief, unfortunately, she left her phone behind on the boat. And when the national chief returned to retrieve her phone on the boat, there they were. The DFO must have been communicating to them that the national chief and all the other chiefs have departed and left, and they came right in to start arresting our men and women that are on the front lines. So, we talk about systemic racism and harassment, and we need our fishermen to be protected. And we ask that changes be made within the Senate, within policies, and just to serve our people and respect our peace and friendship treaties. Well,
Thank you, Chief Posey. Chief Master, would you like to
Yeah, can you hear me?
make a comment? Okay. Yeah, just before we do, we're getting tight on our time, and we have a couple of more senators who like to ask questions, even in our first round. So we need to just want to advise everybody that we're getting short on time. Senator Chief Marshal, go ahead.
The Fisheries Act was the regulations itself was based on commercial licenses and commercial fisheries. It was never applied to rice-based fisheries. So this is all new game, and I don't think they're just. I don't think they see that. It should be co-developed by our Indigenous communities also. And this is what I was saying earlier. When they come talk to us, they already make the decision. It's after the fact. We should be there when they're making these decisions also. Even we have different chiefs there. In our Nova Scotia here, we got some chiefs there. Like we have somebody we have a chief that's designated for fisheries, but it was always after the fact. I don't know. I think it's just because the way it's set up, the legislation and all that. And the way we see it, we want to be there right in the forefront. And it's not going. I don't think it's not going to work until they have us involved right from the mist when they start talking about this. I know I've been at some meetings sometimes. I had a few good friends at DFO. They're so scared to say anything, and they're scared for their jobs. And I would never say anything to jeopardize their jobs because they're willing to talk to me like freely, like on the phone and so we're so scared. Like it's like talking like having a spy on DFO. But I did have two people that work for DFO. They would tell me all this stuff, and I couldn't believe it. And it's happening right in their own their own employees are scared. And I'm thankful for them to give me their information. And they'd be wondering, how does he know this? I had it firsthand. Like they would tell me this, and it's too bad guys, people like that can't come forward. And I didn't say anything, so I'm glad they shared that information to me. That's the hardest thing that I just had to close my mouth. And they're scared to lose their jobs, and they probably would have too, because they're wondering where does where does he get his information at? That's just the way it's set up. It's not going to work. So we got to go right into the Fisheries Act and change things around. Like we have to be involved. It's not meant for rice-based fishery.
Okay, thank you. Senator McPhedran, will you have a short follow-up you'd like to do? Oh, can't
I
hear you,
do.
Senator. Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you. I do. And I want to focus, picking up on this previous part of the answers, I want to focus on the minister. We have a new minister. She received her Minister Murray, she received her mandate letter in December, just basically a few months ago. That mandate letter, I've just been reading through it this morning. I'm sure you're very familiar with it as well. My question is this: do you think the mandate letter for Minister Murray gives her the authority and basically the mandate, the purpose of directly addressing and reducing systemic racism in the way in which the Fisheries Act and oceans legislation being applied? So it's a build on my previous question, but it's specific to the minister.
Okay. Chief Posey, would you like to answer?
thank you for the question. Well, first of all, we haven't seen any changes to date, and we know certainly, this takes time, but with new ministers come new vision and new conversations and opportunities. Um, clearly that was that's what's my understanding is. I would hope that the minister, reads these reports and hear our conversations and to understand the grassroots of our people here in Wabanaki territory. We've asked for a meeting with the Minister of Fisheries. The Wolastoqey has asked for a meeting, and we haven't met with her yet, and we're hoping to do that shortly. And we will certainly get that message across. So, with hope, Senator, that the minister would have that flexibility governed by information through our conversations and through the Senate. Leewin.
Chief Marshal.
Yeah, we're always hopeful. Always hopeful. Like the last minister that was there, and we told him, said it's not going. Brenda Jordan was there. Said, he said it's not going to help because she lives in the fishing community, and we knew right off the bat it wouldn't work. But she was getting pressured by Strong. But hopefully, we're still hopeful. The new minister here, sees things in a different aspect also, and having a meeting with him to share, our thoughts. Like Bo said, we're hopeful people. We're patient. Can run out now. 22 years, and something has to happen. So I'm hoping, they have to talk to us first. That's all. We have to be right there.